Welcome to episode 6 of Tactical Tequila. We are here with Officer Ashley Smith,
Hi.
Ash, and Jay. Well, welcome. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you for being here. From one Ash to another Ash.
Yeah, I think
I
it's,
can't see your third guy. Is he like incognito or what's happening here?
Who, me? No, I'm here.
So it's just the way that the two screens are meshed together.
Aw.
On the full podcast, you should be able to see him.
Okay. Well, right now he's
You
a
should be able
mysterious
to.
man.
Yes.
Or is this the one where you cut me off for good? Am I done?
I'm gonna laugh my ass off when Jay's nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to
Literally,
be seen.
I can't see anything. Like, I'm literally going to
Seriously.
take a picture because can't see anything.
And literally, of all the times during Black History Month, the one time
during-
you cut me off
During Black History Month. It's a
and you can't see me.
damn shame.
Unacceptable.
All right, so Ash, go ahead. Ash, go ahead and introduce a little bit so we can go into it.
So to give you a little bit of background about us, myself, I've been in executive protection for almost 20 years, both military and private sector. Protect high net worth clients on a regular basis. Ash?
Hi, Ashley. I'm Ashton, and I was a 23-year law enforcement officer here in Nevada. Retired as a sergeant, Las Vegas Metro Police, and I spent most of my career in the counterterrorism section. So I was in the shadows, running sources, running high-level cases. Spent about 3.5 years at the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, so it's where I met Jay. And then, we just developed a great friendship over the years, and I got down that tequila rabbit hole, and we started talking about creating this podcast. And we all love a good tequila, and we find most people don't know what good tequila is. We almost named the podcast Bad College Experience, but we went more towards the let's mix our love of agave spirits with, law enforcement, military, and now doing executive protection myself and private investigative security consulting work here in Las Vegas. And then my friend Jay.
Yeah, and I did 20 years on the federal side with the FBI from D.C. to L.A. to my last 10, 12 years here in Vegas. Same stuff, counterterrorism. Spent most of my time on the behavior side, trying to identify individuals about to commit attacks and stop them before. And that's, like, as Ash said, that's kind of where we met, in that arena of trying to stop violent acts before they occurred. So between the three of us, there's no safety, security, prevention, tactical side that we, between our 60, 70 years, I think, combined, that we haven't seen. So we try and look at both sides. We spend a little time talking about events and kind of some of those safety related events and kind of some things that we've seen on our end, and try and bring some of those to the people at the same time, share our love of tequila. So when Matt talked about having you on, we thought it was great because you've got the law enforcement experience kind of from the other side of some of the, from the other side of the country, first of all, and from the other side of it. So let us know a little bit more about your experiences there, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Unfortunately, I'm not sipping tequila. I am having an energy drink. But so
Same thing.
I'm a police officer in the state of New York. I've been on for 16 years. I am a police sergeant. I run the midnight platoon. I am an instructor in basically almost everything. I'm not going to go through my resume, but I mainly do road patrol, as well as I'm the training commander, FTO commander. I do a little bit of community relations with like setting up events and stuff like that. I'm the PIO, and I also do social media. So my law enforcement side kind of brushes into my fitness side. I 100% wholeheartedly believe in making sure that you are fit for duty. And I will stand on my mountain screaming that, because there's nothing worse than, lazy fat cop, male or female. So my fitness kind of bleeds into that. I first started off with doing marathons, got injured on the job, I broke my ankle, and so I switched into bodybuilding because I didn't really know what else to do. And that's basically what my social media is the job. It's the comedy because we all have dark senses of humor because that's the only way that we can get through
Very
things.
dark. Very.
Very, very
Yeah.
dark. No souls left.
Very.
And then fitness on top of that. So that's basically myself in a nutshell and what I represent and what my social media is all about.
And in your social media, and that's a good thing to talk about, as far as combining the two, the social media part of fitness and the law enforcement, do you find that you catch any flack or catch any shots on the law enforcement side because of the social media presence that you have?
Where do I begin?
Begin at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, the funny part about my social media is I don't know how long you guys have been following me, but if you follow me since the very beginning, I did not intentionally even want this to happen, meaning for my page to blow up and get popular. I started off with a duck as my profile photo. I had nothing posted. I didn't know how to use it. I literally got on there because I was so sick of asking my friends to like text me these memes. And then I would be like weeks behind because they've already seen all of them. And they're like, Ashley, just get social media. This is annoying.
That's
You're
me.
being super annoying. And I was so against it. And I was like, all right, whatever, I'll get it. I posted my first fitness post. And back then I was a little less here. So I was like a board and it went viral, which is shocking. And then I posted my first police post and that went viral. And I will never forget both of those, like waking up and being like, who are these people? Why are they following me? I don't know them. Like, what do they want from me? Like, this is so weird. Like, do I like get them off my page? Like, what do I do? My friends are like, we don't know. We've never seen anyone like go viral. Like, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Why do these people like me? Why do they want to like comment on my stuff? And then so after that, literally, I mean, I would say within 6 months, I was at probably like 8,500 and then went to Police Week, which I go every single year. If you guys are familiar with it, it's in Washington,
No, of
D.C.
course. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best thing ever. You have to, if anyone that's listening who's never been to Police Week, it has to be on your bucket list. You have to go before you retire because it's the most amazing like experience, camaraderie, everything. But so then I went to Police Week and again, I'm walking around and they're like, oh my God, it's Officer Ashley Smith. And I'm like, do I know you? Like I was so creeped out because I'm like, why do these people want to like take pictures with me and like talk to me? Like I'm just like this small town girl in a small town area. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. So then it jumped to like 15. Then I was featured on World News. So then it jumped up to like 35. And then basically ever since then, well, really, I used to grow a lot until the communists took over Facebook and Instagram. So now I'm shadow banned every other fucking day,
Yeah.
which I'm experiencing it now because of SHOT Show and because I'm posting more gun content, which I knew was going to happen. But so I tried to keep my page very quiet for as long as I could until my coworkers like started seeing it. And then they were like, what's happening? And shockingly enough, to like clear the air with everyone, I obviously am allowed to post what I post because I have permission from my agency. Right?
I guess that was that was going to be my question was how did your admin treat you? How did they see that? Because I think it's very, I think we always lose as cops. We lose in that the court of public opinion. Like we always win in court for the most part, but we lose that court of public opinion. And I think social media is such an amazing tool to highlight some of the stuff that cops are doing. And it doesn't have to be the dancing bear antics where cops are twerking on video and that stupid
Correct.
shit that we always see.
Correct.
So like, how did your admin, did you have to sell this to them or were they immediately like, hey, this is a no brainer? Because some admin is like, no way, no comment on anything and no presence at all to the other side of they don't know what they're even doing. So anything is okay. How did they buy into this and how did you sell them on it?
So fortunately, my first chief, because he's since retired, didn't know anything about social media. So
well played.
By the time it like blew up with World News and stuff, he's like, what's happening? But
Right.
I'm already the PIO, so I'm on the news all the time. So he was just kind of like, okay, like, so like, what do we do with this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? I'm just like posting videos. I don't know. And he's like, okay. He's like, just don't get in trouble. And I'm like, okay. So then the town and then
Since
the
you're the only person that can
mayor,
get in trouble with. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So then the town and the mayor are like, they are like trying to get interviews from the news agencies, and then they call and they're like, what's happening? And my chief's like, well, I don't know. Talk to her. So then I talk to them. We have a contract. I can post this stuff. I'm actually allowed to post in full uniform with patches showing, and I choose not to because
Wow.
I do not
Wow.
want. A lot of people think that I work for a very specific area. And if you notice my posts, I always post in different states and different locations. That's on purpose. Because then no one ever knows where I work. I might be in Vegas one day. I might be in Florida one day. So they never know
Good for you.
where I am. But I actually have permission to post in full uniform. I just choose not to. I don't want to blur that area. And, you know, here's the thing. Like, I do get complaints, right? This is a tequila podcast. Like, we can get like kind of like aggressive and vulgar, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's mostly the
Absolutely.
fat, out of shape housewives that have an issue with their husband following me because he thinks I'm hot, and so then they make a complaint. And that's frustrating, but thank God my new chief is like, listen, I already know it's just jealous people. Like, just keep doing your thing. Don't do anything that's going to like come back that makes the department look bad. Don't do anything that's unethical. Don't do anything that's illegal, but like, just do your thing, have fun, live your life. Like, he understands. I've been given so many opportunities. I'm so blessed for what I've had, things I get to do, the things I get, you know, to travel for, that he's just like, there's one day I walked into his office and he was like, I'm waiting for that day for you to walk in and be like, hey chief, I got to give you my 2 weeks. I'm like going to Hollywood. Like that's how he is. So
And when you guys, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I said, when you get those complaints, do they come into you through social media? Do they go directly to your office? How do they come in, or both?
We have this anonymous tip 411. If you guys have ever
Got
heard
it.
of it.
It's so bad.
That's
Which is hilarious because administration like me are the ones that monitor it. So I'm like, I get to read my own complaints, and I'm like, oh, I can't touch it though. I have to, notify the chief. Hey, we got another one. And we just laugh about it because like the best part is, so he is huge on integrity. And so he wants somebody to come in and write a statement and sign the statement that this is a factual thing.
Well played.
You need to show proof. He will not look into anything unless somebody comes in and signs a statement. And he is very adamant of, I need you to understand that if you sign this statement and I find even the smallest lie in it, you are lying. You're going to be arrested. It's a misdemeanor. It's a false complaint and it's a false statement. And he has zero that has been able to have signed because people are just jealous and people are just stupid. I am not twerking on social media in my uniform. I am not doing the TikTok dances in uniform. If you see my page, it is only a photo of me in uniform with the patches blurred. I'm not doing anything unprofessional. I'm not doing anything illegal. Now you have the bodybuilding, you have the fitness stuff, you have the comedy stuff. I am an American. I have freedom of speech. If I want to drop some F-bombs, I'm entitled to. I'm doing it in my personal time, on my personal page, and I'm not in uniform. So that's where we're at.
I think so. A couple things really quick, because bravo to your chief, for having the courage to, first of all, to recognize that the power of social media and what it can play and the positive role of law enforcement. So I say bravo to him. So please tell him I said thank you. And even to the retired chief who he could have easily taken a safe approach to said something new, sounds dangerous. I don't know. Don't do it. Shut it down. But he allowed you to run with that. So that shows me that that's leadership of people who trust the people that they put in positions under them to be that in that leadership position. So bravo to them. I think the other thing that you mentioned, and I'll say this: people who are going to complain, the people who constantly bitch and moan, the people who are so vocal, I find on social media, they are the 3 to 5% of the fringe. And what you've done here, and I have only started following you. Matt's like, hey, we're having this, Officer Ashley Smith on. And I'm like, who's Ashley Smith? Is she here in Vegas? Is she coming? Like, I had no idea. Looked you up and immediately I followed you, I think 3 days ago. but I went through and I see that you're following and what you're doing. It's positive. I agree with you that don't, like, when you say I can, just because I can do something, doesn't mean we should. Even though you have permission to post the uniform and the patch, I kind of agree with you in keeping it blurred, because you in all reality representing law enforcement officers across America. It doesn't matter that you're in New York, but you post pictures all over the country. You are a representative of American law enforcement. So bravo for that. I think that's a very smart conservative approach in all reality, a world that's still, it's very unknown. Social media is still you're navigating it, as we're all navigating as it goes. And so I think that is amazing. And then I think also it's just the fact is, you have status within social media. You have a huge following, and status is status is status. And that's what I think people don't like. And so when that, and you'd be surprised, I bet you there's wives, the wives who don't like it, but I bet you 100% there's people that work close to you or see you, and they don't have that status and they don't know how to get it. And that's their complaint, because status is so important to the human construct, and you don't have to be the most, you don't have to be a Kardashian to have an amazing presence and status in social media. And social media is showing that now. It's showing that there are people out there who don't necessarily follow the rules that they were given as kids. And now all of a sudden they're doing something different. They're highlighting physical fitness. They're highlighting beauty and smart and brain. So you have beauty, brains, a woman in law enforcement. It's like, of course you're going to have people calling in anonymously to complain. Let them complain. Bravo to your chief for squashing it, unless someone wants to come in and actually sign the complaint.
And that's go ahead, Ashley.
The best part about it is the fact that, like, he uses me for my assets, meaning, like, he sees how I do my social media. And so the first thing he did was, like, when he came over was, hey, I see what you do. I love what you do. Like, can you start doing that for our social media? Like, what are some things that you can do for ours?
Yeah.
So I took that over, and obviously it's much different. It's much more professional. There's not a lot of comedy with it. It's more informational and stuff like that. But
sure,
he still takes the fact that, like, I do videos for the whole county when it comes to, like, if the mayor's office wants something done, they'll call me and I'll be like, yep, absolutely. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I'll interview your employees or whatnot. So it's cool that he takes my assets and, like, my interests, and he knows that I really love doing this. And he's like, okay, well, if you love doing it, would you love doing it for us too? Like do that if you want to, like, take it and run. Like, I trust you, like, do your thing. And that for me feels good that he sees that my page is sometimes risky, and it is, right? But then he says, I trust you as one of my sergeants, as one of my employees, and on your professional side to handle our social media, the way that you see fit as well. And so that's been a really nice thing as well.
And that's really important. And going back on another thing you talked about traveling all over and going to these events. You talked about Police Week, which I've done 100 times, and I know Ash has too, and you have, and I'm sure Matt has. It's a good time. And one of the things that we always touch on here, we talk about events that happened around us in that week or two prior to our last show. And we talk about some of the difficulties in trying to make those events safe, some of the difficulties in trying to keep those things running the way they were. And we talked last week on the last show about the Super Bowl and the things that it took to do that. And we always take three different angles here, three different approaches. We take the approach of trying to keep the event safe, like what Ash does with the police. We take the approach of trying to keep high-value people, high-value targets safe during those events, like Matt does. And then we talk about some of the behavioral, the techniques, the steps that people go through in trying to prevent targeted acts of violence on those events, like I do. And since we last got together, we had the parade in Kansas City after the Super Bowl. And at that parade, we had the shooting. And I kind of wanted to get those same type of ideas associated with that parade. And we've all seen 100 times. We all know that it was kind of came from a fight. But we'll let Ash go, and then you can talk about some of the difficulties associated with trying to hold some of those large-scale public events safe. Like what are some of the things, Ash, that go into that?
Well, I mean, so here in Vegas, you had the F1 race here a couple months ago. So that's the bookend of one major event that we had never experienced before. And then you're going to end the other bookend, which is Super Bowl 53. Correct? Am I right?
No.
53?
It can't be 53. 50
Super Bowl. Whatever. LV 33, LV 123.
Okay.
So, and then really, like last time we talked about some of the secret sauce. You know, if you have a huge, massive festival, there's no secret recipe. The secret recipe is flood it with cops, put uniforms every 5 feet. But here we have this Kansas City event where you have 500 uniformed law enforcement officers, you have National Guard, you have DHS, you have federal cops, you have everyone, and we still have a mass violence event. And really what you had that you're not getting, you don't get any really, and this is the big problem in our country with the media, is where you're not getting the information about what led up, what happened. There's no after action report. There's this blast headline. It fits two political spectrum sides. Guns are bad, take them away. Don't tell me what to do. Freedom, freedom, freedom. We never have a conversation about, hey, what actually happened here? This is gangsters. I tweeted after this event, you can have gangsters or you can have nice things, but you cannot have both. These are gang members that got into a shootout amongst a fight with people within it. So even there, you have law enforcement officers, if they're not engaging the people, the criminal element, hey, that guy's acting suspicious. Why is this person got a bulge in the pant? Whatever you're looking for, those articulable things to conduct that stop and then get that gun off the streets. You know, you could put a cop every 2 inches and it's not going to stop the problem. They did it right in front of the cops. So for us here in Vegas, as far as these special events are concerned, we're probably one of the better police departments in the country at safeguarding mass events, because we have mass events every single day. What people don't realize about Las Vegas is there's a convention in town right now with 200,000 people. They're spread out at a convention center, at 3 separate convention centers, and you have overtime security, all these people, overtime uniform officers. That is going to safeguard that arena. And then at the end of the night, at the end of the day, you know, you have the entire strip becomes, you know, the restaurants are flooded, the nightclubs are packed, the casinos are packed. So between the vacationers, the people here to see shows, gamble, travel, eat, shop, now you have convention in town. This is why we have a 98 to 99% occupancy rate on any given night of the year. There is no slow time in Las Vegas.
That's true. That's true.
But it's also contained within properties. It's supplemented with, you know, private security. So, you know, that's the thing in these big events. And for Metro here in Vegas, F1 was new, Super Bowl is new. So you had these two bookend events, and then you had one of the craziest couple months in between where we had a horrible December. We lost 2 troopers in a horrific traffic accident, killed by a drunk driver. God rest their souls. You had a dude go shoot and kill administrators at UNLV, what looked like an active assailant event and kind of is an active assailant event.
Absolutely.
You had that happen. You had the lead up to New Year's Eve, which is one of the largest events in the country here in Las Vegas. And then so you have the bookends. Like right now, like I was literally on the phone today with the sheriff, like just chatting with him about some stuff. Like the level of stress that these cops in Las Vegas have experienced since November.
I bet.
Like bravo to you. Keep your heads held high. You know, think about your personal lives. You know, think about the fitness side of things. Think about keeping yourselves mentally and physically fit, because you guys crushed it. Like Las Vegas cops just knocked it out of the park. Yeah. Grand slam. So that's my kind of thoughts on that. I don't know the festival side or the large mass events that, you know, Ashley deals with. So I can let her speak to that.
That'd be interesting, Ashley. So in your situation, it's a smaller town. It's a smaller area that probably does not have the number of events that we do. Does it look the same creating a safe environment in those smaller events as it does here with hundreds of thousands all the time?
Well, without obviously giving away where I am, we do have hundreds of thousands of people in our events.
Well, there you go.
I'm not in a small area. I'm in a city. So in the city that we're in, we have major events, we have major sports, all that stuff. And we have 2 big venues that do concerts, that do, you know, the monster truck races, all that stuff. So we do get a ton of people. But our events are sanctioned, so you do have protocols of, you know, metal detectors, the wands. It's an event like that. It's not an open day. I mean, we do have open day parades, but it's not. It's there's at least levels that you go through in order to potentially stop stuff like that. Because, like, let's be real, I was obviously at SHOT Show. You are not supposed to be armed at SHOT Show. Everybody was
Yeah,
armed.
well,
And
everybody was
obviously,
armed.
here's the thing: you could buy a ticket for $250 and walk into there, and they literally thousands of people could have been shot and killed. So what I think needs to happen is we need to stop thinking like civilians, and everyone needs to start thinking like we're in the military and everyone is armed, because these juveniles are armed. New York State now has bail reform. I just arrested somebody for 5 warrants. She just headbutted another police officer and just got done doing an armed robbery, and she got released on $6. $1 for all 5 warrants, and then $1 for her new charge. And until that is changed, until a politician's family member gets injured, until they get injured, until a judge gets injured, they're not going to change this law. So these criminals are now, these adult criminals are now using the children that don't even get brought down to the jail anymore at all. It's catch and release now at this point. It's all through, webcams. It's all virtual arraignments. They get released and they don't get charged. They end up doing community service. So they're sending all these juveniles out that with ghost guns, because they're 3D printed now at this point. Half of them can't even be considered an actual firearm, because are they readily capable of a shot? They're arming all of these juveniles, and these juveniles are going out and doing their crimes now that all the older people are telling them to do. So we need to get this. And listen, I call it my perfect bubble society. When I do the Citizens Police Academy, we bring all these citizens in from any county that they want to. They can come in and take this class. And it's like 5 months long. And I call them my perfect bubble society because they are literally wake up, coffee, drive to work, the same area, go to work, come home. If there's anything that stops them, they're like, oh my God, how do I get home? Because they've been doing the same thing every single day. Get up, drive the same way to work, drive home. They have no idea what is happening around them. And until everyone starts realizing, every time that you approach someone, consider them armed. And until we start realizing that, the tragic stuff is going to continue to happen. These juveniles are getting ghost guns. They're all armed. I'm not joking you when I tell you almost every single one of them is armed. And this is what happened. They got into a huge fight, and then they had some words. They had some beef. It was 2, like you said, potential gang members. They get into a fight, and that's exactly what happens. And people were caught in the crossfire that had nothing to do with it. And then administration from the agency says, well, this was just a reckless incident. That's all you have to say, is this was a reckless incident.
And in those same events that we're talking about, like the Super Bowl, and you've got the team out there, and everyone here knows the way NFL does security within the games and within their teams, and it's top notch. I mean, most of those guys running those securities to the NFL are former agents and former Secret Service and former everybody. But in this particular type of parade, what are some of the difficulties, Matt, that you would have trying to keep those individuals safe in that parade open air environment?
Well, in the last 2 years, I've done probably 6 parades. They're the most nerve-wracking executive protection events that you can do. Walking down an open air street where the only thing that's between you and someone else, and most of what is, some streets aren't even blockaded. You have like a bike rack that's in between, separating the parade route from the people watching it. You're, as one person, which I've done many parades as a single agent, your principal's riding in a parade car or vehicle, and they may not have a security driver, but they have someone who's designated by the parade to drive them. You get those instances, and of course, they don't have the training. So not only are you thinking about everything that driver's doing, are they going to shut the vehicle off if the parade stops just because they don't want to run the engine, and then you risk the chance of not having that vehicle start up again. which actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we ended up walking the rest of the way on foot for the parade.
Which is even more dangerous.
Yes.
Going out there, absolutely.
Yes. And then, you also have to throw in other risk factors, such as, is the principal riding in a convertible?
Absolutely. Are they all on the top of a bus drinking alcohol like at our Golden Knights parades? And for me, where I come from, I am more worried about the cover. The individuals that use these parades and marches as cover to commit an act of targeted violence. It's they're using these opportunities, I guess, opportunists, and that becomes a difficult part is trying to weed those people out until the end is just the potential gangbangers, like what happened here in Kansas City. And some of those techniques that me and you have done a million times, walking around plain clothes, trying to find the difference between those two gangbangers going, as opposed to the people that are using it as a cover for an act of targeted violence, which we had here in Vegas in 2020 during some of our peaceful rallies, our peaceful marches. People use that as cover to kill, to shoot one of our officers. And that was there. Horrible. Yeah. It was a horrible, horrible time. But those are the type of things that these open air parades and marches and those type of things put law enforcement in those tough situations when you're trying to find those individuals.
Well, you're trying to counter, especially in something like a protest, you're trying to keep up the right for people to be around and be mad at you, which is a constitutional right. And good for you. You should be mad at us.
Yep.
We're the man. We have the right to take life and liberty, and we should be checked like that. But you're also trying to keep it from becoming a riot. Because the scariest thing I've ever been involved in was riots. And in 2020, and being not in uniform but in the crowd, it was some of the most stressful times of my career. But then also like watching what happened in Dallas, the horrific murder of 5 law enforcement officers in Dallas. And so that, yes, the cover of the First Amendment right to protest your government, whether it's the water district, the school board, the mayor's office, or the police, is an incredible opportunity for that very, very small segment of society that can go, watch this.
Absolutely.
So,
and now, you have the pro-Palestine protests, so they're all up and down Las Vegas streets, just protesting at random places.
Yeah, and it's always something. There's always some reason to protest, and you can't, and there's nothing that you should be able to do to stop that. That's like you said, that's an important freedom that we have to keep the government in check.
Right, and that's something that you can't do in most other countries.
Absolutely.
So, and maybe Ashley can add to this as well. It's like you can't set up magnetometers at the "we're here to protest" insert cause here. It's a stressful time, and as a sergeant, I know for me when I was a sergeant, I always felt like the sergeant level. It's like the sergeants are the cause and solution of all of life's problems fall at the sergeant level. And Ashley, maybe you can talk to that about what your experiences were during these open air protests or these mass events that kind of popped up out of nowhere. How did you guys kind of handle that, or how did you maybe gather information on what was happening so that you could get ahead of it?
I don't mean to downplay the situation. We had we had fun during the riots because it was in all honesty, obviously it's an adrenaline dump, but I am huge into the community. I can talk to my drywall for an hour. I can talk to anybody. So being able to actually get down there with people that maybe, you don't get a chance to talk to all the time. You're too busy out making arrests or running around and stuff like that, to actually get involved in your community and to just not be a wall of assholes and actually try to communicate with them and get them to talk. I honestly think it, in a weird way, in my area anyways, strengthen the relationship between the police and the community. I could be wrong.
Nice.
I know that's not the case, and in most other places. But for us, I do believe that it did strengthen that and opened up, because we have a lot of influential leaders in the city that came up through this, and most of them, I would say, were for a good cause, understanding, wanting to be heard and all that stuff. And I'm here for it. I want you to be heard. I want, to get your point out. So I think it was just good community wise. Being at a sergeant level and having to do that, it's also hard because you have to worry about liability, right? So I have to constantly outweigh letting my guys be able to do their jobs, but also keeping them in check with their emotions to say, hey, listen, this isn't worth it. So
Right.
that's
Absolutely.
that as a supervisor, it is a struggle because for me, I still remember, being that road cop and wanting to get into pursuits and wanting to be the very first one there and the first one on the pile and all that stuff. But as a supervisor, you have to step back and say, okay, let's not be the first person.
You're absolutely right. Those opportunities that we're provided to get out in the community as law enforcement officers and actually interact with the community are godsends. I mean, those we need to take more advantage of those as a law enforcement community to interact, and that it opens up, the ability to create the relationships that actually build change. And so often we don't take advantage of those opportunities, and those rallies and those type of open air events are a good time to do it. So that's a very good point that you made there.
I just also think that people want to be heard.
Absolutely.
And so
That's it.
to them, this is like the most important thing. And, maybe they didn't belong, in high school or whatnot, and they found a club now that they belong in and they feel welcome. And so, if this is the hill that they want to stand on and preach on, like, that's fine. Like, give them a voice, like, let them do their thing. Again, this is like the most important thing to them. As long as it doesn't turn violent, as long as they're not doing something illegal, like blocking the roadway and stuff like that, then yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing, like, you go ahead, do your protest thing, like, do whatever you need to do. Like, I'll support you, like, I'll stand by and make sure that you're safe and you're protected and all that stuff. But we are adults and we need to police ourselves. So when they get to a point where they are doing illegal things or they do become violent, it's fuck around and find out. That's how I feel about it. If you're doing
Yeah.
the wrong thing, then you're going to get arrested. You are going to get hands put on you. You might get hurt. Those are your own actions. You're an adult. No one forced you to do it.
It's
Stop
carrot.
going with the crowd.
It's carrot versus stick. Let people give people a carrot, give people the stick. That's what people need. People need structure. They need to know there's some rules. Yes, I agree with you 100%. I was there. I witnessed it. 99% of those kids wanted to yell and scream, and because they were pissed off about things that we need to have these conversations. We need to have uncomfortable conversations within law enforcement about culture issues. But you cannot go smash out windows of businesses. You cannot punch people that, are just walking down the street trying to get away from, escape their dinner. You can't do these things. But yes, 99% of the kids and the people that were involved in 2020 protests that I saw just wanted to vent. And I've always said, if I was ever a public official that was elected to office, I just have a once a month town hall. People could come, yell on the mic. You got 2 minutes, voice your concerns. And if, once they get it off their chest, I think most people actually feel much better. It's just they wanted to get it off their chest.
And that's important. That's important.
Can we talk about women in law enforcement? I know we wanted to ask her some questions. I wanted to know, like, maybe Ashley, what is your, in my 23 years as a law enforcement officer, I always found some of my very best supervisors were women. What are your experiences like? What have you seen as far as, your time on the job as a woman in law enforcement? What's the status right now? Is the culture, I think I'm a big believer that culture will always eat the policy and the law for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can write down on paper one thing, but the culture will devour it. It's, constitutions are made of paper, bayonets are made of steel, kind of a analogy. What's the culture where you're from and what you've seen in law enforcement, especially going to police week and being around so many different law enforcement officers? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So my career in law enforcement as a female did not start off well. I had a very old school regime at my first agency, because I'm at a different agency now, that women were only meant to be seen and not heard. And they really honestly didn't want to see me or hear me. So it's hard to base my career on that, because in all honesty, there came a point where I was going to quit, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I was the only female at my agency. I was ostracized. I mean, it's winter, like, and I shouldn't be on bike patrol every single day, like
Yeah,
in the wintertime. Like, that's unacceptable. But I was a
absolutely.
kid. I was hired at 20 years old, so I didn't know any better. You know, I just thought like, this is okay. I'm the one that's the most in shape. Like, I wanted to go to bike school. Like, I guess I signed up for this. But to be treated like absolute like a second class citizen, in my profession for the first couple of years at that first agency, I did not have a good taste in my mouth for being in law enforcement because my counterparts were never treated that way. Fast forward, I get to my new agency. Chief is basically like a second dad to me. I then say, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. But we still had some old school guys. And I just felt like I needed to prove myself to them. Like, make sure I handle as many calls, make sure I come in early, super early every single, like an hour early every single day. Make sure I take all the overtime and, I don't ask any questions because I don't want to upset them. And, slowly but surely, I did gain that respect from everyone. I mean, now we're fast forward. I got 16 years on now, but it was the same thing on transitioning to become a sergeant. I think no matter what sex you are, you kind of get nervous because they say that the hardest position you can ever do is to move from patrol to sergeant.
Hmm.
After that, when you go lieutenant and captain, it's an easy transition because you're just picking up an extra responsibility. You're just transitioning into a little bit different of a job. But to leave your friends, your comrades, the guys that you literally walk through shit in, and you spend more time with them than you do your own family, to leave them and to move into a position where I now have to be their supervisor. I might have to discipline them. I might have to say, hey, stop talking shit, or I can't talk shit with you anymore. It's, inappropriate. I can't be, caught doing that and talking about another, coworker, or another supervisor. Like, to move to that position, I was very nervous to do that. I was nervous to get the acceptance to, you know, I'm the first ever sergeant at my agency that's a female. I'm the only female at my agency. We just hired another female, but the first time in this 16 years that there was another female. So New York State is very still much behind, than other states are. We do not hire a lot of females. I don't know if it's because females don't want to. I don't know if they can't make it through the process. I don't know what it is, but we are still very behind. We're still very behind in how we treat females. But I was actually very shocked at how accepting not just my shift was, but every single police officer that works at my agency, of how accepting they were. They stood back a little bit to watch how I was going to do. And I basically came out of the woodwork and I was like, listen, I just got stripes put on me. I did not get a USB plugged into my forehead that downloaded all the information. I am not going to know things. If I don't know it, I'm not going to lie to you and make up some bullshit answer. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I am not sure about this, but I will find out for you. I will check for a higher source and to find the answer for you. I'm going to fuck up. I am human. There's no rule book. There's no like, here, now you became a sergeant, like read this, everything's in here. It's not. It's all about experiences. And I really honestly think doing that, I still answer calls. Like when I go on calls with my guys, I'm like, hey, do you want me to take a statement? Do you want me to take like photographs? I'm going to collect evidence, or like we ran our asses off the other day. I took a couple complete report calls for my guys because I was like, no, like you have like 5 reports to write. Like I'll just take this. Like it's no big deal. And they're like, wait, what? So I think just still being in the trenches with them, like I have an open door policy. They can come in and vent to me. It's helped me as a supervisor grow more, to be a better leader for them. And to just be, kind of the best police officer I possibly can be.
I think it's great because your leadership style is kind of the same as mine. I would definitely tell my guys, I don't know everything, despite the cool things that are on my resume and the cool things I did in the terrorism world. What you said, they didn't plug a USB. I used to say, like, I didn't go down to supply and pick up my magical pixie dust of know-it-all sergeant. So I was very much the same way. I would tell my guys a couple things to kind of reiterate what you said. If they came to me and said, hey, Sarge, I don't know what to do here, I would very kindly, unlike when I was a young cop, and I learned the hard way back in the late 90s, you don't call your sergeant until you called everyone else. I would say, hey, who else have you called? Did you call so-and-so because they're really, really good at case law? Did you call so-and-so because they know the policy manual upside down and in Braille? Did you reach out to this resource? Did you call a detective that you maybe know? Like, utilize your resources first before you call me, because I want you to build. What I was trying to teach them was build your resources, build the people who know so-and-so. It's basically, I got a guy. Yeah. Like, someone calls me up and they're like, I don't know anything about this. I'm like, I know Jay, I got a guy. I know Matt, I got a guy.
You're building a support structure.
A support structure.
You're building scaffolding.
Because scaffolding. And a lot of times guys would call me up, and I am smart. That's why I made it what I made in my career. I'm not going to deny it. I would know the answer. Did you call so-and-so? I can tell you the answer, and you can be lazy and call me, or I can make you call a detective who you don't know, and now you have to foster a relationship, and I've already fostered that relationship because I'm not going to be here one day. So and then the guys come in, open door policy. Guys would come in, hey, this is happening, a complaint, event. I would always end it with like, are you venting, or are you coming in here with a solution for a problem? Because if you come in here to vent, so if you come in here to vent, I'll give you about one of those a week, because I can only take so much venting. If I have 10 dudes 10 people under my command, and every single one comes in one time a week to vent, we're talking like, that's a lot of like me going, okay, you feel better now? Like, let's go hit the road. We got shit to do. So venting is one thing. Is it can't just be constant bitching and moaning every single second. But the other side was, this is bullshit, and here's the solution. Here's how we fix this. And then it would be like, all right, you know what the problem is, you know what the solution is. You got my permission, go make it happen. Like, execute, go do it now. And so I really like that about, having that open door policy, but allowing them to come up with a solution and then go implement it.
I also, so I don't know how long you guys have been retired or whatnot, but what everyone needs to understand is we're now dealing with the generation of why. Yes. Everybody wants to know why.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that, because I was a field training officer. So I started experiencing that the last, couple of years before I got promoted of, well, why do we do it like that? Why do we do this? And at first, I'm not young. So I'm like, why do you keep asking me why? Like, you're a recruit. Like, just do it. Just do what I tell you to do. Like, don't be asking why. And then I'm like, I look around and everybody is asking why. Like, my nieces and nephews are grown too, and they're asking like why about everything. So you have to like take a step back and be like, okay, let me explain to you why we do it. And this is why.
But that's a good thing
behind it and all that stuff. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then 9 times out of 10,
that's a good
you don't
thing.
hear them vent about it. You don't hear them bitch about it, because they have the answer now. Like, okay, I didn't think of it that way. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, cool. We all learned something today. Now when your counterpart and your other coworker starts bitching about it, you are going to sound so smart, because you're going to be like, well, here's the thing. This is why we do this. And so that kind of ends up spreading out a little bit, which works out well.
And the why is important, right? We don't want, for so long in law enforcement, people that just have done what they're told, even when what they're told is the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And so the wanting to know why is very important for us to move forward in building those relationships, because so many people have just done what they're told for so long. This younger generation want to know why is important.
Yeah, and it forces you to articulate to them.
Yes,
like it's like does. Guess where else you got to tell them why? On the court stand, when the attorney's like, why did you stop my client? Well, you can't just say because I wanted to, or because he broke the law. You have to articulate to the court why you did that. So there you go. It's a good practice for both generations to learn something.
Well, and I think that, with the younger generation, the why is their building blocks to what they're doing. And they want to justify what they're doing and makes sense in their mind to get it done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we always, in these shows, also talk about what it is. And Matt told me that he did send her a bottle.
Yes, she has a bottle of Yayo coming, and she also has a tactical tequila sweatshirt.
Nice.
And so I know that a lot of the tequila is in extreme opposite of your fitness side. So that's that. But we manage here to all do both.
Every night is Friday, Ashley, as long as every morning is Monday.
Yeah. So, and today, what is it, Matt? Talk to us about my drink in particular.
Today we have Yayo Blanco. It's out of 1414. Sergio Cruz is the master distiller, and when you take a nice smell of the tequila, you'll get the cooked agave, you'll get the black pepper, the citrus.
Yeah, very citrusy.
A vegetal note to it. And the drink that you're actually having tonight is a smoky paloma, as I'd like to call it. It's got La Luna mezcal in it. It's got Yayo tequila, grapefruit.
It is actually very good. I've come in, and Ashley, for some reasons known to few or a lot, I can't drink straight alcohol. I had a bad experience. So every week we do something like this. Matt makes me a different drink. And I had a rough week the last couple of weeks because I found out that a couple of your favorite tequilas that are additive free and good stuff are things that I just don't like. But today, Yayo, I realized I absolutely love. And I didn't think I would love the smoky mezcal because I haven't gone down that road, but this is good stuff, Matt. It's one of your better drinks, and I will take back all the horrible things I say about you.
Well, I appreciate that.
I thought Smoky Paloma was your nickname in the.
No, yeah, in some places.
Ashley, are you a tequila drinker? Have you ever? Is this something that you enjoy?
So back in high school, because I drank a lot more before I became of age. I used to be in the bars at like 16 with my fake ID. We used to call it Tequila.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I'd have a shot of it, and you did that whole like keep gulping because you're about to throw back up into your cup. So hurry up, like keep it down, sister. So like I had a bad experience with it.
We all did.
Yeah. But then, and who knows, I don't even know what brand it was at that point. But then you go to these all-inclusive resorts. So I went to Cancun, and that's all they give you. And I was like, fuck it, YOLO. So I have loved tequila since because I was there, and I was like, well, this is the only thing that we could take shots of. So I just like, my palate was just like, all right, well, we're going to have to get used to it. And now I have absolutely no problem. I love tequila now.
So we almost named this podcast Bad College Experience. Because we'll tell people, you know, hey, we have a tequila podcast. And they're like, oh, I had a bad college experience. Hence, Jay can't drink it without mixing it with something
list
sugary.
the alcohols I cannot drink to this day.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Like Bacardi Limon, I can't even see the label. Don't even show it to me.
Yeah. So
dry heap.
Yeah. So one of the things that we, you know, the reason we got into tequila and what we found was that, and what we would like you know, anyone who's listening, who's a part of your world, who ventures over to hear us on this podcast, understand that most tequilas out there are made by mass corporate, you know, they're kind of mass corporate model. So there are some artisanal, mom and pop, well-made tequilas. Most tequila, about 70 to 75% of the industry has additives in it. And so there, you know, when people say, "Oh, it tastes so smooth," and I really taste the oak. Well, that's because they add oak extract. If it has a sweetness to it, it's because they're adding glycerin. And a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, it's been aged for a year. It's really just got, you know, caramel coloring in it," and they aged it barely at all. So we really encourage everyone listening, do your research, check out our podcast. There's a lot of stuff out there to find out what are the artisanal made, additive free tequilas. That's what we really stress here. You can really, and you don't have to spend a lot. So the general rule in tequila, the fancier the bottle, the worse the tequila. The celebrity stuff, garbage tequila. For the most part, 90% of celebrity tequila is no good. So do some research. You don't have to spend a ton of money. $30 to $70 will get you an amazing tequila. This Yayo is amazing. Artisanally made, coming out of a distillery known as Gnome 1414 or 1414. It's Yayo. You can start right here. I think they're about $45 a bottle.
Yeah, you can get it between 40 and 60, depending on
where you go. It's an amazing, very well, and you can, the beauty about this tequila is you can sip, you can mix, and you can really go down some really cool rabbit holes on different kinds of tequilas. This is a Blanco, so that just means, you know, it's been kind of stored in a stainless steel barrel after it's been distilled. Reposados are rested, so it's been, kind of hanging out in an oak barrel maybe for 6 to 9 months, and then añejos are aged. As if you'd like whiskey, you probably will like an añejo. So you can do some research on it, check some things out, and there's some really good stuff out there. You don't have to drink anything garbage from college, or if they're pouring shots. Our days of doing shots are over. We're sipping, we're enjoying,
Like
and like something that you relax to. So,
And I'd like to, in a show coming up, go to, if you like this particular type of dark tequila, what is a drink that you can have on a tequila? I'm sorry, this particular type of dark liquor that's not tequila.
right.
What's a drink that you can have that crosses over that would be similar, that could bring you into kind of this tequila realm, and away from, or I guess broaden your horizon, broaden your possibilities there.
Yeah.
So we'll do that here coming up.
Maybe a future podcast.
So actually, what is your favorite tequila, or what is your go-to tequila?
Whatever doesn't make her sick.
Literally, like, anything like honestly high shelf, like anything that I would say honestly smooth. If I'll ask like the bartender, like, what's the smoothest one? Like, I don't want no
Absolutely.
cheap shit. Like, I'm too old, I'm too grown. Like, no, we're good. We can afford the top shelf.
The good stuff there.
All right.
Yes.
We'll have to talk offline with Ashley about some of the stuff. It's supposed to punch you a little bit. You want tequila's supposed to give you a little bit of a, you should know you're definitely drinking tequila. But yeah, I think we'll offline talk about some of the better ones.
And if you really want to get it well, actually, the next time you go to Mexico, take a trip to tequila, and it would change the way that you look and feel about it. The good stuff versus some of the other celebrity stuff.
Very true.
Once you see how it's made and the love and the passion that the distillers put into it, it changes your view on tequila totally.
All right, Ash, we'll let you close us out. Give us something good here.
Well, so I know that you guys wanted to talk about like what alcohol does to the body,
Absolutely.
as like
Yeah.
workouts, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So just to touch on that, so what everyone needs to understand is, especially like during prep, we cannot have any alcohol. And the reason why is your alcohol will break down into carbs and sugar. And during prep, you don't want any of that. We monitor our carbs, like a lot of people do macros. A lot of people do keto. You want to stay in ketosis. That will push you over. And the rule of thumb is basically any time that you drink alcohol, the food that you eat after for 24 hours will stay in your system and turn into fats and sugars. So that's why we cannot have alcohol. All of us stay sober literally from the day that you start prep. Even on your cheat days, no alcohol. You can have a full piece of cheesecake if you want to. No alcohol, because that will literally stick with your body for 24 hours. So when you get off of it, though, like the first day, I literally walked off stage at Nationals. We drove home that night. It was a after 4th of July party, so there's still fireworks going on and stuff like that. I had like 4 drinks. Wasted out of my mind. Out of my mind. 4 beers and I was wasted. Because like literally my metabolism's going through the roof and my body has just hadn't had it in 6-7 months. So
your prep time is 7 months?
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot go 7 months. So I will not be prepping for any this is why I'm kind of fit, kind of fat. Like
I honestly, I don't drink a lot anyways. Like when I race 4-wheelers and like we go out of town for camping, like usually night 1 I'll get fucked up, and then like the next couple of nights I don't drink at all.
Got it.
So like the camping is like when I reserve it, but otherwise I really don't drink a lot anyways, because again, like I have this really awesome superpower where I don't get hungover. My friends hate me for it, but I also don't want to like wake up the next day and like I ate that pizza, so that stuff's gonna stick with me for an entire day. So like psychologically I have that in my head of like, okay, well, if I drink alcohol, anything that I eat after is gonna stick and turn into fat. So
now how often do you do shows? How often do you do shows?
Like, so I was doing back-to-back for 3 years, then I took a year off, then I did the Arnold, and then I took 3 years off. And I took 3 years off because I got to a really unhealthy state. I got really obsessed with it. I got way too skinny. And like, again, that psychological game. was playing in my head. So I stopped, took 3 years off, 3 long years, and then I just competed this past summer. So
Good.
now,
Good.
depending on where things go, with me like traveling and stuff like firearm stuff, I will compete either this fall or I actually might wait another full year and compete again.
Now, do you see a lot of that obsession and kind of unhealthy attachment that you spoke about? Do you see that a lot in the industry? And if so, how do you see people dealing with it? Or do they just go further down the rabbit hole and keep going into it, the obsession?
So the professional guys and gals, that's really hard. That's their profession. Like that's what they do for a living. So I don't really think that they have like the obsession because they kind of always look amazing. But for like the girls like us, like that are like natural and we, spend the 6-7 months to get down to like basically starving ourselves at that point. It does become like kind of like a mind fuck because you get to this perfect body that you think is perfect, even though like I look back on videos now. So I'm like cleaning out my drafts for my social media. I'm just gonna start posting like random stuff. And I looked at some of the videos and I was like, oh my God, I looked awful. I looked like I have not eaten in like 3 years, but I thought I was fat. Like I like didn't think I was
Got
ready
it.
for the
Yeah.
stage. And I'm like now I look back and I'm like, God, I look so much better right now. Like so much more healthy. So it is a mind game. But as long as you are super positive and you understand that that's not sustainable and that's not healthy, and for us women, like no grown ass man wants to hang on to like a 12-year-old body, like that's weird. They want like muscle and fat and like they want
Yeah.
something to grab onto.
Yeah.
As long
Absolutely.
as you're in that headspace, you're good. And same with guys too. Like maybe some girls like to have a guy that's like ripped all the time. I absolutely don't. I've actually never dated a bodybuilder ever. I don't like it. They're way too bougie for me. They're way too no.
Thank
I
God.
want like hashtag like dad bod, but like I like the guy that's in shape, but I don't need him to be ripped solid. Like
Yeah.
we
Well,
like something to grab
Do
onto
you,
too. So
do you feel like the male cops, and a lot of them are into the bodybuilding world, do you feel like they are seen, viewed, or treated differently than somebody like yourself, a female who's in law enforcement and in the bodybuilding world? Do you feel the differences there, just like in the police force?
there's 100% a double standard. There is 100%. But here's the thing: there's also a double standard still to this day about guys and girls with dating. It's okay, like the guys in the locker room will give dubs to guys that have like slept with multiple people in a month. If they hear their female coworker has done the same thing, or even a couple, she's a slut.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
I'm so sick of that. I'm so
Yeah.
done with that. It's 2024. Like, why does that make her a slut, but it doesn't make you a slut as a guy? Like, that's so stupid. It's the same thing with bodybuilding, though. It's okay for a guy to wear tiny board shorts with no shirt on, but heaven forbid the girl wears the bikini. Where the hell did that become an issue now? But it is. But just because I'm a police officer, I can't wear a bikini. But Joe Schmo's wife can go out there and wear it, or he can wear his tiny little board shorts. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super confused with these double standards. Like we need to stop with that shit because that is extremely annoying.
Yeah.
That's like the complaints I get with my social media. Like, oh, you're trying to sexualize the badge. Well, no, I'm not in my uniform like taking it off and then here's my bikini underneath it. No,
Exactly.
I'm not. But if I lived in Florida or I lived in California and I was in a bikini all the time, that would be okay, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
just
I
I'm
think
so
there's
sick of the double standards.
I think it stems from an evolutionary psychology of the woman must be protected at all costs for the raising of the children. And we live in a world now where some women don't want to do those things. Like the rules have changed. And so we are just now living in 2024, but we're wired for 300,000 years of human evolution in the Pleistocene era, where saber-toothed tigers and the survival of a 150-man tribe was very critical. So I think now you're just, and I just don't think people understand it. Like where a dude goes, I slept with 4 girls this month in the locker room of a police station, and the dudes are high-fiving them. Even the married guys are like, good for you, bro. And then the girl says the same thing, and they're like, whoa. I just don't think they understand where that psychology comes from. It's just because we are now living in different times. We have technology, birth control, the change of how women enter the workplace, women in the workplace. Things are changed so much so fast that I just think it's overload for a lot of guys in their brains. That's my personal thoughts.
I can see both ends though, because we're in a generation where like maybe my age or maybe your age, like we still remember, like my parents are still together, we still remember that, but like people that are younger than us did not grow up with two parents together. Like the statistics of parents still being together are like slim to none.
Yeah, and some guys some guys are just assholes. Some guys just want to hate, so let them hate.
That's all it is. Like if I can tell you right now, no one ever says anything about my job. Everybody says I'm like one of the best cops, if not the best cops at my agency. They know that I will always answer up. They know I will have their back. They'd rather me go to calls with them because either I can talk the person down or I can throw down at any point. I'm not the little girl that stands there terrified. Like I'm ready to do it. Like there's times that I come into work and I'm like, all right, what are we going to get into? Like I love that stuff. Like that's fun to me. But it's just like this whole double standard thing of it's okay for one but not the other. And like, listen, I agree. Your old school like persona of, hey, let's protect the woman at all costs.
Yeah.
But like you, like a guy putting me down, that's not protecting me.
That's true.
That's being an asshole. That's being a chauvinistic piece of shit.
Right. Yeah. And what I find is men who don't know how to articulate it, they think they're protecting the woman by punching down instead of lifting up.
Yeah. Or like, again, I'm going to tell you, no one says anything bad about my job. They might talk shit about me because of my social media and they're jealous because they see me like traveling all over the place. And, you know, I get to have fun and do all the stuff that they wish they could. And they get to go home to like their miserable wives or their lives or whatever. But there's not, and I'm going to say this is a very cocky statement, but I will stand on this hill. There's not a single one of them. And if I all of them talk shit about me. If I lined all of them up and I was like, I'll go on a date with you. I'll go on a date with you. They'd be like, yes, please.
Sure.
It's like, that's what I hate is just like, just stop. Like I'm nice to everyone. I want to lift everyone up around me. I would help anyone at any cost. Even if you talk shit about me, I would still be there for you. I'd still help you. Like I'd still answer your call for need.
Right.
I just wish it's almost like a thin blue line. It's like not even existent really much anymore because I just wish we all, instead of eating our own, we just took care of each other and you know, lifted each other up rather than put each other down just because of jealousy.
And I think that's very true. I've always found cops are their own worst critics. Like we have a civilian review board here in Las Vegas. They are very forgiving, as where cops will crucify their fellow partner. The Monday morning quarterbacking is really bad. So that's just something inherent to, and the thing is with cops is, and I tell this to folks, we're all alphas. You know, some of us are wolves and lions and some of us are hyenas. But, you know, it's like, you know, I was always the wolf, you know, the lion, cool, calm, collected, but I'd tear your ass apart if I had to, but I wasn't a hyena. I was never the hyena. We've had hyenas, which are probably sociopathic, psychopathic people, or they have narcissistic personality traits. Those folks are in law enforcement because the human race has these people in it and we hire from the human race. The other thing I wanted to hit on also was, you know, for everyday law enforcement officers listening, you don't have, I'm in the gym every morning, but I live my life. I enjoy tequila on the weekends. I'll have the burger. I try to keep the diet pretty locked down. We're pretty good, especially as we're getting older. But if you're just any Joe law enforcement officer, Jane law enforcement officer, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be competing. Think of yourself as a machine that needs to be in shape. You have to have a level of physical fitness to protect your fellow citizens, your family, and your partners. And that's what people need to focus on. I'm really big, so I applaud that. But I want people to understand, like, physical fitness in law enforcement is so quintessential, not only to be able to perform at a standard in the moment when that 911 call, shots fired, alert tones going off, shit's hitting the fan. But guess what? 98% of us are going to get to a point where we are retired and now have an entire life ahead of us to live. And I'm here to tell you right now, you will blink and that day will come. And your physical fitness is a testament to how long you will live. And you want to draw 3 to 5 times more out of your pension program than you put into it. You want to rip that money out and live to 90 and 100 years old with all your wits about you. So physical fitness now is so very important. I just wanted to maybe have you add on to that.
I couldn't agree more. You do not have to compete. The only reason why I did is because, like, when I got hurt at work, I lost my identity. I was running long distance. I didn't have anything else. I'd never lifted weights. So I needed to transition into something. My therapy is the gym. My therapy, we call it throttle therapy, is four-wheeling. Just, you owe it to yourself. Like, we all put money into our cars and our houses, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you buy yourself a computer system and play video games. You put money into that, and the last thing that you do is put, money and time into your own body. You only have one body, and everything out there right now, what we're drinking, what we're eating, the atmosphere is literally meant to make us sick. Like,
Yes.
whether people believe it or not, like, that is literally what's happening. Like, we find a new chemical or a new cancer, like, every day, in the things that we're eating and we're drinking. Like, this world, and they don't care about us. They literally are trying to make us sick. So you need to take your time and put good things into your body, vitamins, choosing good foods, not eating fast food all the time. Doing some sort of physical fitness. It doesn't have to be every day, but, like, not even just, like, for yourself, but, like, your family, your kids, and your significant other. Like, you owe it to them to be around, to
Yeah.
see them, grow up and see this world. But also, you owe it to your partners on the job to make sure that you have endurance to be able to stay in that fight if you're fighting for your life.
And I'll say, if you're a cop in America, you do need to be in the gym every day. And there was a time, and shame on me, where I wasn't. I remember early in my career, it's like, all right, I'm out of the academy. I'm never going to run 8 miles again. And you don't have to run 8 miles, but you do need to maintain some kind of physical fitness. You do need to be prepared to defend those you took an oath to defend, and those who you are backing and partnering with, because no one's coming. There's no magical rescue unit coming. The Navy SEALs are not going to deploy to you when you're screaming for help at 2:00 on the radio and you're completely gassed because you haven't been in the gym in months. So, like, yeah, if you're a law enforcement officer in the United States of America, state, local, fed, you need to be in the gym, in my opinion, every single day. I'm not saying every day, but take one day off. Yeah. I don't care if you go walk on a treadmill at a good incline for an hour, go lift some weights, do some resistance training, stretch. I cannot stress to you how important stretching is. I don't care if you even do a yoga thing for 45 minutes to an hour. Do something that raises heart rate. Do something that keeps you limber. Do something that is keeping you fit. And you're right. The food is great. All the food is garbage anymore. There's chemicals in everything. Corporations are trying to, there's food on every corner, but it's the worst food ever. Yes, think about what you're putting in the engine. Don't put diesel in the Ferrari. You run 100 octane racing fuel in your best car. Don't put the garbage fuel in that car. You are a machine. You are a fine-tuned sports car. Put the best food, put the best stuff in there. Put additive-free tequila. If you're going to go down on a Saturday and you're going to enjoy your night out, do the stuff that's been made right. Do the stuff that's artisanally made. There you go. There's my plug.
And one of the things on the Fed side that they do differently than a lot of state and county law enforcement agencies is they maintain the physical fitness test throughout your time in the bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And that added requirement to continue with your physical fitness when you get out of the academy that was important on the Fed side. And it was, you couple that and we had a very good rate of our older agents still being able to handle themselves when necessary. And that was something that when I got working down with some of the other agencies, I didn't necessarily see as much as I saw on our side. Yeah. And that ability to keep it up was important. All right.
Yeah, I know it's getting late on the East Coast, Ashley. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I'm a midnighter. I'm actually staying up until probably 6 in the morning. So
nice.
Yeah, we can stay here as long as you want to.
Anybody that started us off with, I'm drinking an energy drink at 9:00 on the East Coast. She's not on her way to bed like we are. So that's fine.
I maintain my schedule on my days off just so I don't have to worry about that.
Nice.
So I have all my days off. And I'm also a drug recognition expert, and they call me at night. So I'm already awake. And whenever they call me, I can just go out.
On a side note, how are the dogs?
They're good. Duke's having his back issue, so he sees, actually tomorrow he's going to the acupuncturist. So he's I'm a crazy dog mom. So he sees a chiropractor and he goes to the acupuncture. Now he will have to get a shot once a month, which lubes up his like joints and stuff like that. Cause I guess as dogs get older, just, I mean, like humans too, that jelly that's between all of our joints literally just like grinds away. And so this is like, this shot gets it to develop back again. So he has been better. And Kaya just had surgery. So she does her physical therapy tomorrow as well.
What kind of dogs?
They're both boxers, and Duke is about to be 10 and Kai is about to be 8.
You would love my friend Letitia. She's a boxer mom. And
Good
she's
time.
the same $10,000 surgeries and shots of, I'm like, I wouldn't spend that on my kids. So
I will bankrupt myself. These are my kids.
Yeah.
That's when you talked about like females not wanting to have kids. Like that's me. I'm good. I'm all set. I would be shocked if I even get married at this point. So
All right.
Well, you never know.
All right.
Ashley, you want to plug your social media? Not that we have much following, but just in case.
yeah. So on all my social media platforms, I'm everywhere. It's at Officer Ashley Smith.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers to you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right.